I live in Florida and this incident happened about 3 weeks after Hurricane Irma, so not that long ago. Back in July, the ex and I had just finalized the divorce and I moved into a gated neighborhood where every house was rented out by the same rental company landlords. It's a very small neighborhood with about 15 houses tops. All 15 houses are bordered around a man-made lake with the backyards facing the lake. No one really has a fenced backyard. When you walk out your back door, you see the lake in front of you and your neighbors' backyards on each side of you. Everyone in the neighborhood seemed very close. Someone was always hosting a family-friendly party barbecue or having people over to watch sports. I am still depressed about my divorce, so I never partook in these social gatherings. The only person I got to know was my next-door neighbor, Steve, an active Navy soldier with a huge love for guns. Steve is the true hero in this nightmare. My daughter, Alice, is 4 years old and I get her every weekend. Alice's bedroom window faces the backyard towards the lake. I spoil that girl to death. She truly is my everything and I count down the days to the weekend every week just to be with her. That's why I was upset when Irma came and I had to go almost 3 weekends without seeing her. The weekend before the storm she was with her mom, then obviously the weekend of the storm she was with her mom. Then on top of that the weekend after she had to be with her mom because my power was still out. The humidity was so bad that week that I slept in my daughter's room the whole week because she has the only room with a window that faced the lake. I opened the window, exposing just the window screen, so the wind from the lake could cool the room as much as possible while I slept. Eventually the power comes back and Alice starts visiting me again like normal. That was when the nightmares started. My daughter would complain about the singing lady, and how she doesn't like her anymore. I thought maybe she was referring to one of my ex's friends, or one of the teachers at her school. Maybe there was a teacher at her school that sang to the kids that she didn't like. That Saturday night Alice woke up in the middle of the night screaming bloody murder. I ran into her room and turned on the light, and found her hiding under her covers. I asked her what was wrong and all she could do was point to an empty corner of her room and say, "Look! Look! There was nothing there." She was acting as if she saw a ghost. After I calmed her down she started to talk about the singing lady again. "Please tell the singing lady not to come back. Please, Daddy, make her go away. Obviously, she is having nightmares, right?" I showed her there was nothing in the closet, and nothing under the bed, and that there was nothing to be afraid of. She calmed down and went back to sleep. I went back to my room and quickly fell back asleep. It couldn't have been more than 20 minutes before Alice comes running into my room screaming, "She's back! She's back!" Alice absolutely refused to go back to her room, so I let her sleep with me. The next morning, Sunday morning, I took Alice out to breakfast, and we stopped by Target to pick up a baby monitor. I haven't used one since her mom and I were still married, but I wanted to easily be able to hear her if when she started having these nightmares again, so I could respond quicker. After I set them up I showed Alice how they worked to give her assurance that I could hear her, and she was safe. That night she slept soundly and didn't make a peep all night. The following weekend Alice had to stay with her mother again because she caught a stomach virus from one of her little friends at school. It was Saturday night, and I was sound asleep in my bed. Around 2 a.m. is when I heard it. A woman's voice humming a soft nursery rhyme through the baby monitor. The humming soft singing got louder and clearer as the voice got closer to the monitor. I wasn't dreaming, I could hear a woman softly singing lullabies in my daughter's bedroom. I had never been so scared and dumbfounded in my life. I was feeling a mixture of pure terror and disbelief. Then the voice spoke out. "Alice, sweetie, are you awake?" Adrenaline shot through my veins. I jumped out of bed and locked my bedroom door. I picked up my cell and called Steve from next door. He didn't waste a second. As soon as I got off the phone with him I heard him storm out his back door screaming, "Don't you fucking move!" I ran outside and found him aiming his shotgun at a woman crouched outside my daughter's window. The one I had left open after Irma and never closed. Steve quickly dropped his guard when he recognized the woman. It was Jean, the neighborhood maintenance man woman. Steve's wife came running out after him and confirmed it was her. Jean played dumb. Said she was not singing and didn't even know my daughter's name. She said she was near my daughter's window because she was doing her weekly patrol for gators and thought she saw one approach our house from the lake. Bull freaking crap. That woman was singing, and she called out to my daughter by name. Yes, it's true that there have been a few gators spotting around the neighborhood, and yes, part of Jean's job was to patrol the lake at night every now and then. But at 2 a.m.? I obviously knew it was bullshit, and even though neither Steve or his wife called her out on it, I could tell from the look on their faces that they didn't believe her either. The next morning, I went over to Steve's house to thank him and tell him exactly what happened. He told me Jean and her husband have been known to be a little cuckoo, but this is by far the craziest thing to happen so far. Steve helped me install metal bars on Alice's window that afternoon. It was in 2018, back when I lived in the suburbs of Paris. I've been playing Pokémon Go since its release, and I used to go out at night to play, always with my best friend on a voice call. It was a night like any other, following my usual route. It was around 2 a.m., and I had already covered a good 2 kilometers. I found myself about 1 kilometer away from home, standing near a Pokestop, catching what I could while talking to my friend, just like every night. It was a residential street with a few streetlights, but quite dark as there was a field just behind it. After about 5 minutes, I noticed a man in his 30s on the opposite sidewalk, just a few meters away from me, holding hedge shears in his hand, and there was a pile of branches at his feet. I thought the man was just trimming the branches of his tree. However, when I described the scene to my friend, he said, "You should leave right away. No one does gardening in the middle of the night." Despite my friend's warning, I was so focused on Pokémon Go that I wanted to capture all the Pokémon before leaving, so I stayed. As I looked at the man, I realized he wasn't cutting any branches. He was only staring at me. He would occasionally move and hide behind a parked van nearby while spying on me through the windows. However, he knew very well that I could see him, and I began to feel scared. Despite my friends pleading for me to leave, I still hadn't caught all the Pokémon, so I hesitated to go. The man continued his strange behavior, crossing over to my side of the street and hiding behind some bushes while staring at me. Then he went back to his pile of branches and stared at me again. Finally, I had enough. I decided to leave. I walked normally towards my home, trying not to show any fear. I had a straight path back home. My friend on the call asked me to check behind me in case the man was following me. Indeed, he was, still holding the hedge shears, about 10 meters behind me. I then made a left turn instead of going straight, even though it made my way longer. I wanted to be sure that he was following me and that it wasn't a coincidence. He continued to follow me. I picked up my pace, taking snaps just in case something happened. When I reached the end of the street, I was out of breath but safe. There was no one behind me. I entered my home, feeling relieved. Suddenly, a white car pulled up right in front, stopped, and the driver's window rolled down. It was the man with his pruning shears. Now he knew where I lived. I rushed inside, locked everything, grabbed a kitchen knife, and waited until someone woke up so I could go to bed. There were no further incidents. Nobody believed me, so we checked the surveillance cameras at home, and unfortunately, I was right.